Okay, so Area 51. For decades, just saying the name brings up all these images, right? Secret stuff, hidden things. It really taps into that need we have to know what's behind the curtain.
It really does. And, today, instead of just speculating wildly, we're going to try something a bit more grounded. We're looking at actual visual data Google Maps images that someone shared, which Third Phase of Moon also took a look at.
Yeah, so not just blurry photos from miles away. This is stuff you can actually pull up yourself, potentially.
Exactly. So our mission really for this deep dive is to dig into this imagery, this publicly available stuff around Area 51 and unpack the claims someone made about some really weird-looking aircraft and buildings that sort of appear and disappear over the years.
Right. And the time frame we're talking about is, what, from 2002 up to more recent times? But the source really zeroes in on 2009, 2010, 2011. Seems like key years for whatever they spotted.
Huh? Those years pop up again and again in the analysis we looked at.
And the claims themselves are pretty out there. We're talking about spotting the TR3B, that legendary secret triangle plane, and something that looks like a landing pad shaped like the Millennium Falcon, from Star Wars.
Hey, yeah, I can almost picture Chewie working on it.
Totally. And then there's this hangar, this building that the source speculates might, hide an actual flying saucer.
So, yeah, our goal isn't to say this is definitely a spaceship or this is definitely not. It's more about walking through what the source claims based on these pictures and how they interpreted them. Let's start digging into those pixels.
Okay, first up, this Millennium Falcon landing pad. So apparently, back in 2016, some audio analysis first pointed out this structure that kind of resembles it. And then things get weirder. These triangular objects start showing up nearby.
And, even though the source we looked at didn't give the exact coordinates, it's clear that being able to pinpoint spots on Google Maps within Area 51 was, super important for finding this stuff and tracking it over time.
Yeah, and the timeline is really specific according to them. They say, look back at 2002 imagery, nothing there. Then, bang, 2009, one triangle shape just appears.
Okay.
Then 2010, it gets even more interesting. Now, there are two of these triangle things, and the source describes them as looking like they're escorting each other.
Escorting each other. That's quite a description. Did they say anything more about that, like why they'd think that?
They didn't really elaborate on the why of the escorting, no, but they did bring up something else interesting. The fact that there aren't any, normal runways right there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so the source asks, well, how would a normal plane land here? Which leads them to suggest maybe these triangle things can take off and land vertically. VTOL capability.
That lack of runways is a key detail, isn't it? It definitely makes you wonder what kind of craft, if they are craft, could operate there. The source even compared it to other weird things seen from space, like that Baltic Sea anomaly or that Starbucks Island thing. Interpreting shapes from above is tricky.
And they say you can even see shadows. Apparently, shadows emitting off these craft. Which, if true and consistent, would make them seem more, physical. Real objects.
Right. Shadows are important in satellite photos. You come to consider the sun angle and all that. But yeah, consistent shadows would suggest solid 3D objects. And the source also mentioned they weren't just sitting still over the years, right? Their positions changed between 2009, 2010, 2011.
Exactly. They seemed to move relative to each other. And then in 2011, the source says they're parked side by side.
So based on all that, the shape, the movement, the lack of runways, the shadows, the source we looked at pretty much concluded these are the TR3Bs.
Yeah, that's their conclusion. But, how certain can you be just from satellite images?
Yeah.
A triangle shape could be, well, lots of things, couldn't it? Especially in military test area.
That's the big question, absolutely. Resolution limits what you can truly identify. Okay, so moving on from the triangles. The second big claim involves this specific hangar, also near Area 51. And the speculation here is pretty wild that it might be hiding a recovered flying saucer.
Right, the hangar. And the timeline here is a bit fuzzier, but the force says it looks like it was built sometime before 2006, so relatively new in the satellite record. And then in the 2006 pictures, there's apparently some activity around it.
And that activity kind of sets the scene for the next bit, which is spotting this disc-shaped object on the ground nearby, supposedly just before the 2009 imagery. The source definitely connects the two, suggesting the disk might be linked to the hangar's purpose.
But the really strange part, according to this analysis, is in the later photos, like around 2011. They describe the hangar as looking like it has retractable sections, like it was partially open in some shots. Which doesn't sound like your average garage, does it?
No, it doesn't, and their interpretation of that structure is specific. The source suggests these retractable bits mean it was designed, quote, supported for a flying saucer disc-like object. That's quite a leap based on, well, how a door opens, essentially.
It is a leap. And it leads directly to the biggest speculation, that maybe the disk seen nearby, combined with this weird hangar, means they're storing a saucer inside. Maybe even, the saucer from Roswell back in '47.
And it's really crucial there to pause and remember linking Google Maps images from the 2000s back to Roswell in 1947. Well, that's pure speculation within the source material. You might have an unusual building, maybe an odd shape seen nearby, but connecting those dots requires a lot more evidence than just satellite photos.
Definitely. Now, the source material also branched out a bit, didn't it? Into the politics of it all. The whole transparency thing around Area 51 and UFOs.
Yeah, exactly. They brought up past political statements, like Hillary Clinton apparently promising to investigate UFOs in Area 51 if elected. Shows how mainstream the topic can sometimes become.
And they posed this question like, would Obama release info before her?
Right.
Which then led into playing a clip of a White House press secretary answering questions about it all.
Right. And what the source really highlighted about that clip was the tone. Kind of lighthearted, maybe dismissive from the official and some reporters. The third phase of Moon guys were clearly frustrated by that, saying, this is no laughing matter. It points to a massive UFO cover-up.
You can really feel their frustration.
Right.
Yeah, like the truth is being hidden and the mainstream media isn't taking it seriously enough.
They even bring up older stories, mentioning President Eisenhower supposedly being worried about Area 51 way back when, maybe even thinking about stepping in. These historical bits add to that whole narrative of long-term secrecy.
And when the press secretary in that clip joked about, the president probably knowing the secrets, the source just wasn't buying it. Like, if he knew, why isn't the truth out?
It really gets to the heart of the conflict they see. Officials often brush it off, but then you have these persistent claims, sometimes with pictures like these, suggesting something is going on. They even mention people allegedly getting hurt out at Area 51, saying, that's why we need to know what's happening there.
So, okay, let's wrap this part up.
Yeah.
We've looked at these claims from the third phase of Moon analysis of Google Maps. There's the weird landing pad, the triangles appearing and moving between 2009 and 2011, interpreted by them as TR3Bs.
Uh-huh. And we looked at that unusual hangar, the supposed disk seen nearby, and the interpretation that its retractable features mean it's built for a saucer, maybe even from Roswell.
And woven through it all is this strong feeling from the source about a lack of transparency, maybe even a cover-up, regarding Area 51 and UFOs, contrasting with official responses.
So the question we want to leave you with is, what do you make of all this? Looking at the timeline they presented, things appearing, moving, being parked, does that sequence suggest anything significant to you?
Yeah, we definitely encourage you. Pull up Google Earth or Google Maps, type in Area 51. Use the historical imagery feature. Go back and look at those dates, 2002, 2009, 2010, 2011. See what you can see for yourself.
Because ultimately, this deep dive, it doesn't give us final answers. But it absolutely shows how publicly available tools like satellite imagery can fuel curiosity and raise some really fascinating questions about secret places and unexplained phenomena.
Right. It taps into that constant search for understanding, doesn't it?
Mhm.
And how important it is to look critically at whatever information comes our way, whether it's old stories or new pixels on a screen.